Welcome all you business geeks to the Business Geeks podcast, where we geek business. I'm Super Joe Pardo, and I'm joined by my two wonderful co-hosts. And this week we are discussing the topic of what do you need to start a business? It's probably not what you are thinking. We also have a grind my gears involving a pool company that hopefully they get their act together and help me out at some point here. We also have an ice cream company that's getting applause for applause. Yeah, they're getting applauded for their actions that they're taking, and we have three new American versus Aussie business terms that we are going to discuss. And there's one cool thing as well that I'm looking forward to jumping into at the end here. Jennifer Crawford, the co-founder of Sparent.co. Jennifer, how are you feeling tonight?
Well, I imagine I'm feeling like a lot of people are feeling right now. I'm feeling like this country is going through something, something positive, ultimately, something long overdue. I think it's fair to say, I think I can speak for all of us in saying that we are in complete support of the Black Lives Matter movement, the Black Lives Matter protesters, and we are definitely working on ourselves towards our own measures to be anti-racist. I know I've been educating myself a lot this week. Oh my gosh, I've been reading so much. I've learned so much that I'm so glad that I know, and I'm so upset that I didn't know sooner. So anyway, but yeah, I'm good. I'm really proud of this, what's turned into the largest civil rights movement in history has happened in all of our backyards, worldwide. It's pretty impressive.
It's a shame though it had to come at the cost of another life. It's ridiculous. Like it's unfathomable that it takes this. I mean,
absolutely.
This is, I seen one person with a sign that said, this isn't the wake up call. This is like, you guys stopped hitting the snooze button since 1619. And, so it's been ringing. We just keep boop, 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 shutting it down. And I'm glad that people are finally realizing and speaking up. And it's because it's not just enough to not be racist anymore. You have to speak up. And, in my own right, I've come across these types of people, and it sucks. It sucks to be the only person that wants to say what everybody else just kind of sits there and accepts as it's okay to say things like this. And it's like, it's not. Stop and let's talk about it. If you don't want to talk about it, then I don't really have much else to say to you. But it's hard sometimes, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard, and I've certainly been guilty of it myself, particularly with older family members, right? And they say, they're all lovable and sweet and they belong on a Hallmark card, and then they say something, right? They say something and you realize that it's a racist something. You're 80 years old, right? And it's always been kind of like they got a pass because of their age, and you're not going to change them. And anecdotally speaking, I think you're not. And, our efforts are better put probably towards, voting people into office that are going to be much more effective than, changing an 80-year-old relative's, mind. I think our efforts can be better focused. But at the same time, I'm like, it happened, and it was wrong, and they shouldn't necessarily get a pass.
It is right. It puts you in a difficult position, even when you're dealing with business, relations, right? And it's like, you're like, oh, I'm hoping to sign this thing, and then something comes out of their mouth, and you're like,
no.
That puts me in a weird position because I'm like, I don't really want to talk to this person anymore. But what am I supposed to do? Ruin it for everybody? Everybody that's involved, the chain reaction that could cause if I just nah, man, I ain't dealing with this. I'm out. Like,
Well, I think in business,
there's
I think you can, yeah. I mean, I have no patience for that in business at all. I mean, no patience anywhere.
right. No, I agree. I'm saying as a young man, where
Yeah,
you're not
right,
the person in charge, you don't have the final
right.
say. Like, I've totally been in those situations where they just say things that I'm like, I this is terrible. Like, why do you think like that? And why do I have to keep interacting with this person?
Yeah,
But it's not my call to just like walk away from it, like,
I see what you're saying.
from
Yeah,
everything. Yeah. But as the business owner, it's up to you to make that decision. You just got to
right.
keep in mind, like, how many people are going to be affected by my reaction right here, right? It's not just about me. Like Kevin Hart like said that on Joe Rogan the other day about how it's not just me saying it, like saying something or thinking something. Now I got to wear that CEO hat, and how many hundreds of people what I say or how I react is going to affect. And it's a deep burden to have to to shoulder yourself with, especially as a comedian, that you're supposed to say things that are outlandish and ridiculous. So, but yeah, I'm it makes me so happy to when I turn on the TV and I'm seeing all these peaceful protests and all the amazing things that are coming out of this.
Yeah, but you're right, Joe. It's a shame, and it's a shameful that other people's lives are on the back of that movement, right? So other people have perished, and my the whole family's coming in. The whole family come in.
Oh, I want wine delivered to me.
The dog, the husband.
That is fantastic.
That is awesome. That's clap-worthy. Nothing like a little bit of levity, right?
Well, I'm talking about something really serious and sad.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I mean, I said it. I was just reiterating the point that you made, is that, yeah, change is coming. I'm so happy about that. I'm, so proud of everybody that was involved in the Black Lives Matter movement. What an impressive effort. But yes, the sacrifices that these other people have made in order to get our attention, that's sad. But we're here right now. This is where we're at. Hi, Lou.
Lou's
Lou's
back.
here.
Hey, Lou.
Hey, what's going on, Lou? So Samantha Riley joins us as well. Yes. Samantha Riley of SamanthaRiley.global. How are you feeling this morning?
I'm feeling good. I mean, we did have a discussion before we started, and I think that Joe and Jen, you've articulated it beautifully. Probably, articulated my thoughts too, in that, what's happening, how we're moving forward. But personally, we've just had a long weekend here in Australia. You don't call them long weekends there, do you? Do you call them holidays?
We
long
do.
weekend?
No, we call
awesome.
Long weekend. So yeah, we don't do the holiday thing here.
Okay, awesome.
Holiday's like a day.
Okay, so we just had a long weekend for the Queen's birthday, and it wasn't even the Queen's birthday, and everyone in Australia is just going, we don't care, we got a day off. So that's where I'm at.
Okay.
It's just weird, and we just go, okay, we'll take that day off.
Wow, that is weird.
Yeah.
That is odd.
I think we're all going to need to take 2021 off personally after this year.
Yeah, the whole year.
The whole year. I think if 2021 could just be one big party where we're just all like happy and kinder to each other, that would be great.
Look, I'll just leave you with a very funny TikTok that I saw last night. It really cracked me up. There was a woman that she walks past her vision board. She's like, I wanted 2020 to be amazing. I put this vision up that I wanted cheaper fuel, or cheaper gas, you call it. And I wanted some more time off. I wanted to spend more time at home. And then she's like, dang, 2020 just hasn't delivered. And then she goes back and goes, I've manifested this. It's my fault. And I just thought it was extremely funny.
Just not exactly how she thought it was.
Not quite. Yeah, but how are you this evening, Joe?
I'm doing well. I've been very busy bolstering up the community, the indie pod community, getting ready for our next virtual conference this Saturday for beginner podcasters. So it's 8 hours of beginner podcasting goodness. If you're just getting started, you can come join us at indiepodcon.com/virtual. totally free. Just join up in the group, and you can come hang out and chat and learn and have a great time. Meet some new friends.
Woohoo!
We all need
Sounds
that now
awesome.
that we're like being stuck at home. So yeah, it's been fun. It's been a great time, and yeah, trying to plan for what the next one's going to be in 2 weeks from then, and just keep it rolling.
Doing good. Awesome. Should we
Yeah.
jump
Yeah.
into today's topic?
I think so.
Yes. What do you need to start a business? It's not what you think. And if you have any questions, please drop them in the chat, please, because we love having people like Lou say hashtag take 2021 off.
Absolutely.
Even though we
Lou for president.
yes, right? President of the world. So who wants to break the news about what's the one thing that you need to start your business?
Oh, is there one thing?
No, there's not
Well,
one thing. I think
Is that
I-
one
I
thing?
think
Oh, I didn't get the notes. But there's a key ingredient that you need to start your business, right? I'll break. I don't usually get to break the news.
Okay, you break the news.
you break the news.
You need clients, right? You need customers. That's the key ingredient. That's the lifeblood, right?
Yeah,
Brent
absolutely.
says an idea. That's what I was thinking, that you need an idea, but
Yeah, the problem
Well-
is that so many people sit on that idea. Like, how many people do you both work with that have just like, oh, I've had this idea for 10 years, 20 years. I was on. I heard of a guy that published with the same publisher as me for his book, and he's like, I had this idea for a book for 80 years. I'm like, 80? Are you kidding me?
Is it like Lord of the Rings level or something?
No, I don't really know, but
yeah. Well, Mary Sue says we need grit.
Yes.
The name of our summit was the Small Business Grit Summit. And that's kind of what I was thinking too, like this whole failure to launch. I mean, a lot of being a business owner is just grit and guts, willing to put yourself out there, take a little bit of a risk. But yeah, I think those might be the three key ingredients.
yeah,
Grit
yeah.
and clients and the great idea.
I think Joe summed it up beautifully. No clients, no business. It's that simple. All the other things are part of it. They're part of the recipe. We're making this beautiful meal, I guess, with all of the different ingredients. But the number one ingredient, if we don't have clients, if we don't have money coming through the door, there is no business. And I think when we came up with this idea for today's episode, it's because I've heard so many times over the last forever that to start a business, you need a logo and a website. And I'm calling BS on that. You do not need a logo and a website to start a business. They're nice to haves, but you do not need them to start a business. I worked with a client quite a few years ago, and we're going to dive deeper into how this happens. But we sat down and spent a day together. We had a strategy session and really pulled this idea out of her head. And the next morning, without a website, without flyers, without a logo, without anything, she walked into a networking event, made $30,000 and walked out without a thing. So her business was a proven business model. She made her $30,000 and then she could do all the nice things. So that's what we're going to talk about.
I love it.
Because otherwise it's a hobby, right? I mean, if you watch Shark Tank, that's what a lot of the people that walk in there have. They have a hobby, and hobbies are great, and everyone should have at least one. I have probably too many of them myself, and it just you're looking at some of them right behind me.
They're fun, right? They're fun.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with hobbies.
Right, and hobbies can make money, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it needs to be you should be your business. It's just you got to go where the clients are, where the tides are, right? Where the tide is taking you at the time. One of the things since this whole COVID-19 thing, I've focused more on my community in the Indie Pod community and growing that and bolstering that to drive dollars through my business than helping optimize businesses right now, because not many small businesses are operating at a capacity to or able to even operate at a capacity to warrant me coming in and helping them, because of the fact that they're like I had to lay off most of my people and I'm doing everything now, or me and like my son and my daughter and my sister are helping, keep the things, like just keep it moving so we can at least pay the rent and be here when this is over. So is my services super warranted at the moment? Depending on the industry that we're talking about, no. So yeah.
And let's just pre-frame that what we're specifically talking about here is professional services or service-based businesses, not even professional service, but service-based businesses where we're providing a service. We don't need to buy in products. We don't need to have some sort of, we're not talking about SaaS businesses. That's not what we're talking about here.
Right. And I completely agree that you need clients, but you also have to get off the starting block. And I know part of my motivation for wanting to talk about this is that I know so many people that have great ideas for businesses, would be perfectly great running them, but they are spending way too much time going to conferences, taking courses, going to seminars, reading. I mean, they're educating themselves, but like they're educating themselves instead of just starting. And there's some things that you just learn by doing. I think most things you learn by doing. I mean, I'm not talking about jumping into surgery or anything, but by the time you get off that starting block, somebody else may have your idea, or somebody else, you may have more competition. The market demand has changed. I mean, there's something for just, doing it. And, what I've always loved about service-based businesses is that there's very low overhead. Most of them don't require any specialized licensing. And I know one of my early businesses, it was literally like early 90s recession time. I think I may have told this story before, but I had a friend who'd been laid off, and she could literally wallpaper her living room with job rejections. And she was desperate, like she was about to lose her house. And so I said, well, let's just offer to clean people's houses. I wasn't passionate about cleaning people's houses. I was passionate about, getting money in my bank account. So we literally walked out the door, and I walked to houses that were bigger than mine, which wasn't hard to find. And, we knocked, and we didn't even talk about like what we were going to charge. And the first house we knocked on, they answered and said, come in and give us a quote. And we were kind of like, oh crap, we didn't even talk about this part. Like we didn't even like put that much forethought into it. But by the end of the day, we had enough houses to start a business, like to keep us busy. And that's what we did until she found a job, and I had another business that was taking off. So it sort of petered out naturally, but it literally, we had a business in a matter of hours just by knocking on doors. And was it hard work? Yes. Was it fun? No. But we walked away with money, and she was able to pay her mortgage.
Absolutely.
That was the thing we were passionate about at the time. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. And I'm really glad you shared that story, Jen, because a lot of people can also get caught up in I want to build this freedom business thing. And that is what I help people do. I get that. But sometimes, there's a season for everything. And if you're about to lose your house, then going out and making some quick bucks to keep that house is much smarter than, trying to work on the business model that's going to be the forever model and lose your house along the way.
Yeah. I don't know if you have this business model where you live, Sam, but Joe, have you ever heard of a company called Duty Calls? It's Coody. Well, I think they're a franchise. They're definitely in our area, and I hired them at one point. This is what they do. They come into your backyard and they scoop up your dog poo. So they're Duty Calls, and it's completely service based. It's a convenience business, do you think the person that started that business loves picking up dog poo? No, nobody loves picking up dog poo, but they saw a need in, areas, cities, and, metropolitan areas where people are working and commuting long hours and don't have time to pick up their yard. And so now I believe it's a franchise. It wasn't initially, but yeah,
That's fantastic.
That's so
good.
yeah. So I'm just like, because I see a lot of people like they want to do something they're passionate about, and that's great. That's great. I mean, I hope we all can do something that we're passionate about.
Absolutely.
But I think sometimes, the money has to come first, and we never talk about that. Everyone's always like, find your calling, find your passion. Well, you know what? Like, I think I'm just very passionate about paying my bills.
Absolutely.
Having some money in savings.
Yeah. I'm confused, Brent. Brent says it's my passion. Your passion's picking up duty? Like,
no, please.
No, I mean, I think there's a lot, there's a lot there to unpack. I mean, I also want to go back to Brent's comment about Facebook being a hobby, pre-revenue, and not necessarily because it's where you set the goal, right? I use this example. I was doing a podcast interview earlier today, and I used this example of Kohl's, right? And you don't have Kohl's in Australia, do you?
We do, but I've got a funny feeling it's different to your Kohl's. Our Kohl's is like a supermarket.
Oh. So our Kohl's was a supermarket. Oh. That's how Kohl's started out, was a supermarket. And they transitioned into clothing, so it's a clothing store. Anyway, they decided that they wanted to change the goal. The goal wasn't to just get money and revenue, right? They wanted to change the goal, so they set the goal to be something like get people in the store. So how do you get people in the store? Well, they said, hey, you know what people do a lot of? Return things to Amazon. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to package that stuff up for Amazon and send it back to them as a free service to our customers or to the people that come to the store. And then when they're there, bam, we're slapping them in the hand with 20% off on anything they want to buy. So now we got foot traffic, they got a coupon, they have a reason to be there, and they have basically money in their pocket, free money in their pocket. So they changed the goal so that they could try to survive, because that was their problem. Was they were literally like strangling themselves under the weight of their business, and not getting foot traffic was a way that they somebody at the top decided, hey, this is a way to do it. It's going to cost us some money, but we're going to get people in the door and get them in the routine of coming to Kohl's and buying clothes here versus going to Old Navy or Sears. Well, Sears doesn't exist anymore, but going somewhere else and buying their clothes.
That's brilliant. Absolutely love that.
I like it.
Absolutely love it.
Until Kohl's had to close because of COVID-19. Well, they didn't close, but they've closed their stores, at least around here, because of COVID-19 for the time being. So hopefully they can open up again, because I'm tired of going to the UPS store because it's like a long line to get in there to return my stuff.
I love this question from Brent, and I'm wondering if we're all going to have the same answer to this. Do you want to? I think he's talking about a conversation he had with you today, Joe. So do you want to tackle this one?
Yeah. So Brent says, how you define clients. For example, I talked with Joe today. Hey, that's me. Today about how our goal initially is to grow the network. Free users are a big part of that. It really does come down to what you define the customer. So like in Facebook's case, and if you have a podcast and that's what you're trying to like make that thing, or even a YouTube channel, right? The client isn't your listeners. The client is the advertisers, it's the sponsors in most cases. Yeah, you might sell some things to the people that are watching, and then you have a duality to it of who you're trying to serve, and who, from a, hey, we have inventory of people that are watching, to all of a sudden we have an inventory of product that we're selling to that inventory of people, and then that inventory of people is being sold off to that sponsor. So it's good because you have that duality of income. But in a lot of cases, you got to get people in the door, right? You got to get people there so that they are listening, and then you can say, hey, look how many people we have that are coming to our store. And in the Kohl's case, like that's a case, right there, like that's a example of got to get people in the store. We're not going to sell anything more if there's nobody in the store, in our physical brick and mortar store. So you got to start there.
But the people that come through the door of Kohl's, Joe, are visitors until they buy something and become a customer.
And so there's one word here to sum all of this up, and is strategy. You need to know your end strategy. So I was speaking with someone the other day, and she's running a virtual conference for speakers to help them to be able to set up their virtual sets. And one person that she'd spoken to said, well, that's a really valuable topic for speakers. You should charge for that. Without asking her, well, what's your strategy? So when she came to me, she said, well, Sam, what do you think? And the first thing I said is, why are you running it? What do you want to get out of it? And her answer was that she wanted to position herself as the authority in the speaker market, as someone that is a videographer for business conferences, and that she wanted to get this into the hands of as many speakers as possible. Then I said, well, your strategy should be to run a free event, not a paid event, so that you can get more people. So, and then, what are you going to do off the back end of that? So you can't just decide, I'm going to do this. You must understand what is the end goal and then reverse engineer that. And I think that too many people would answer that question without asking the other person, what's the end goal? What is it that you're looking for? Because until you tell me that, I can't offer my, the solution or my opinion in that solution.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, well, I was going to say it's the same with the free virtual conferences that we've been doing in the indie pod community, right? Is the goal is to grow, like the number one goal, raise awareness of the group, increase the membership to the group, increase the amount of people that are on the mailing list. Like that's the goal. Increase eyeballs. So that was a way to do it. And if I make some money on the back end, $1,000 here, $500, $2,000, like that's all gravy to me at this point, because like my bills are covered right now. And I'm just like, how do I just want to increase the amount of people, because it's on the back end, it's going to increase the value when we host these events.
Well, actually, I was just about to say, so your actual end goal, Joe, is getting more people to your conference. That's actually the end goal, not the leads. Because we also have to understand that just having leads without knowing what we're going to do with them is just a bigger problem. And sorry, Jen, I cut you off.
No, well, I guess I'm stuck a little bit on Brent's initial question, where it's like, well, how do you define clients? Because to me, having the strategy is great. It's a strategy. You need it. But the people that are not paying, that are coming to free, that are joining your group or your community, they're not, I personally would not call them clients or customers until they buy something. So, so I think when Brett was like, well, I think he was asking, well, when I'm growing my network, are the free users clients? I would say, no, they're not clients. They're users.
Or leads.
Or leads or prospects. But yeah, essentially you're just having a long tail funnel, right? You're, building the community and drawing people in, giving them some free stuff, but essentially you're selling to them eventually. And hopefully they become clients or customers.
There is one different way to look at that, in that depending on some business models, those free people can bring money in a different way. So there are people in communities. I'm in another community where I'm a free member, but I bring a lot of leads into their business. I do a lot of referrals. So that business owner understands that my place in the business, he's making more from me being in that community for free than he is from me paying and not doing anything. So you also need to understand that there's different people for different reasons. This is such a huge topic, right?
But I would still say, Sam, that you're a referral partner and you have value, but you're still not a customer and you're not a client.
Correct.
Okay, so if we're just talking like I'm really just digging into the semantics here, but
absolutely.
I like to be very clear, because I think business gets really muddy with these free models, and I think people think that just because they have a group, they have a business, and you don't have a business until you're selling something, and nobody becomes a client or a customer until they pay you.
Correct.
Because to me, like, I don't know, like I think sometimes community gets a little. I think there's some weird area there, like with community. Like,
go dig deeper, please.
Well, I don't want to. I run the risk of insulting people when I say this, but I feel personally, I feel a little weird about monetizing a community. Like, I would rather call it like a membership program or something like that. Like, me, it's just, I'm a word person. I get hung up on semantics. I'm not even saying I'm right. I could argue myself out of this really easily. But I love to bring in a little debatable topic every once in a while. So don't mind me. Don't mind
No,
me.
not you. I would never
deeper.
believe that, Jen.
Don't mind
go
me.
deeper in that, because like, what do you define as monetizing a community?
I guess personally, I have never felt personally like if I start like a Facebook community, like a group, and call it a community, I feel like it should just be a community, like people that have the same interest or, want to support each other, have some commonality. But if I intend to make money off of those people, I feel like I should be more straightforward and be like, well, this isn't a community, this is a membership. And even if it's $5 a month or something like that, we know our relationship is very transparent. Does that make sense?
It does. And I think that, because I've seen Brent's comment that, we need to understand that initial strategy of monetizing the group first. I think that with any model, it's going to work for some and it's not going to work for others. Because I've also seen someone who has an extremely successful Facebook group. I think he's up to nearly 8,000 people. When he first started his group, it was purely about I really like being around this type of person, so I'm just going to build a community. What started happening from him adding value to that community, people started saying, hey, I've got this problem. And so he put products together that served those people and helped them solve their problem. I don't see anything bad in that. In actual fact, I see that as being extremely good because he's helping people. Yeah, he's charging them, but that's what we do as business owners. We charge people in exchange for helping them solve their problem. So I think,
so
that intention is what's coming up for me. It's about the intention.
Yeah, I think in that example, Sam, I think a lot of paid groups have happened that way in the sense that it started as a true community and then needs started coming up and it sort of organically became into like this monetization model. I think that does happen. But I think that's happened. And now people have now taken that model and flipped it. And so they go in and they create a group with the 100% intention of monetizing it. Like that is why they started it. They want to grow an audience so that they can sell something to them. And I don't think it's wrong necessarily. I'm having a problem with the word community and maybe a lack of transparency there. It's almost like I made this analogy and I don't know if it's spot on, but it reminds me of a caged hunt, like how they have in Africa. It's like they bring in these, people that want to hunt big game, but the big game is in a caged area, like a fenced in area, so they can't really get away. So maybe they give you the hamburger for free, but they're, you're eventually...
But isn't that all business? I'm going to challenge you on that, Jen, because I think that's all business.
I don't call my customers a community. Like I'm
going to open up a butcher
I've
shop.
got a community.
So I'm going to move to a community. Like I'm literally going to move to a town.
You're not starting a butcher. You're not starting a meat community. You're not going and starting like a meat club. You're not doing that. You live in a community because you have to live somewhere.
You're servicing that community.
I'm just saying, right? I would rather pay a membership. I'd rather pay a membership. Like I said, I'd rather pay a membership and like, hey, I want to be here because you're teaching stuff I want to know, and we have a very transparent, upfront relationship. I know you're selling something, and I might buy because at least I'm willing to pay the membership fee. This is just what I feel comfortable with. I might be 100% wrong. I mean, I'm not sitting in a mansion.
Yeah.
It's not about being right or wrong. I actually think this conversation is fantastic because it just proves that there's no black and white. And that's what it's about. And I think it's super helpful for people to hear us having this conversation because it's not about us being the gurus either. Like, we're just business geeks. What do we know? It's about people hearing this conversation.
Yeah. Honestly, I feel like we're just totally geeking out right now.
We're just having this conversation so that other people can come up with their own ideas. And they could be like, oh, 3 of you have got no idea.
Oh my gosh, Brent just said I'm making some solid points. Oh, I feel so good right now because I'm like, oh my God, I'm like on my own out here. Nobody like I'm just saying things that aren't said.
No, you're not on your own. I think that there are communities that probably I get what you're saying. I guess my intention is that I always want to build community. I'm a connector. That's my superpower in business. So I love to create communities of business people or entrepreneurs or whoever they are, so that they can all come together. Does that mean I'm not going to sell? No. They all know that I've got a product. They all know that I'm going to sell. I'm not going to force it on them, but I still want them to be part of the community, because I feel that whether they choose to work with me further or not, they're still going to get value from being in that community.
So, okay, so two things. One, I mean, I it's been a long time, and this all reminded me of a interaction I had with somebody probably like 4 or 5 years ago at this point, where they were like so dead set on this idea that they were going to start this Facebook community up, right? And the whole idea was bring all these podcasters together, have them, people like me, donating my time to like answer other people's questions and all that stuff. And then his idea was he was going to turn around and start charging for people to get into that group at later. And I'm like, well, why the heck am I going to go waste my time building your community so that you can turn around and like effectively charge people to join it, so that you have access to my time, resources, and knowledge? Like, get the hell out of here.
Well,
100%, 100%.
It's not a community. It's like it's a manufactured community. I mean, a community for me is like really bringing together people of similar interests that want to share that, things about that interest, and that have to do with their, shared goals, values, and dreams, just like Mary Sue just said. So, but if you just start out and said this is going to be a membership, it's built on, Facebook platform and the group platform, then that's fine. Like, because I think a membership is different than a community. I think a lot of people are calling communities when they should be called memberships.
So my second example that kind of goes against what you've been saying, Jen, a little bit is so I'm just sending the other side of it. No. I'm not trying
not
to.
At all.
Like,
this isn't even our topic of tonight. Oh my god,
we've totally gone off topic, but I think it's fantastic.
No, it is fantastic. So what, like the local Facebook groups, right? So like I belong to a couple of my local towns have Facebook groups, and one of them, the one I live in, right, is run by a guy named Jason Lepore. Shout out to Jason. He lives like right down the street from me. And I've known Jason for a number of years because I actually used to go to his underage nightclub and DJ there and all this other stuff. But anyway, point being is he's a realtor. So his whole point of setting up that local community that he happens to live in is that he becomes like the unofficial mayor and a microphone for the community, and other people are promoting their businesses in that group, and as well as he is too. So that's a community.
I think that's
and everybody's
perfect.
promoting their
I think
businesses
that's a community, but they're not selling like. Yes, they're advertising their business, but it's a community business. I think.
But I would challenge that, Jen, because if he's a realtor, the reason that he's positioning himself as the authority is so that everyone in the area goes and sells their house through him. So if we're talking about semantics, he's purely done that to monetize it. Does that mean that he's not
the local East Greenwich group? So
and guess what? He's adding a ton of value. So is there actually anything wrong with that?
It's true. I think that's definitely a grayer area for sure. Just because, being a realtor, he is like, it is a community-based thing. And he's like, I don't know, how do I explain this? I've got to like wrap my mind around it, because there's definitely a gray area, because obviously it serves him to have a local Facebook community because it ups his visibility. Mm-hmm. But the chance of him, if posting a house listing and selling it there, and I don't know, it's so gray. I don't have all the answers, obviously. I just know that I see some stuff that makes me uncomfortable as a business owner when it comes to Facebook groups and Facebook communities and how people run them. And they're not there for a community. In fact, if you never bought anything from them ever, that community would go away, because they're not going to waste their time, but for so long on that community. I've known business owners that shut down their Facebook groups because their Facebook communities, because they're not performing. So I'm like, that's if it was a real community, that wouldn't have any impact on the,
Do you think, Jen,
longevity.
that's to do with the person that's running the group and the intention or the intention rather than the actual model of what they're doing?
I think it is the intention. Like you said, I think if you go into it, calling it a community, knowing you're going to monetize it from day one, I don't think that's a great model. I don't think it's a great model, is what I'm saying. Maybe it works for some people. It's just me. I'm not doing
so that's a no from Jen. It's a yes from Sam.
Yes,
and we're still friends.
Of course we're still friends.
And so that's awesome.
I love talking about these things because I don't know. Like, I could be 110% wrong about this.
So where we got a little bit off, or a little bit rerouted here. I don't know how we ended up down this track.
I blame Brent.
Yeah, let's blame Brent. Let's blame him. Him.
He's always trying to start something. I'm going to get kicked off this podcast, Brent.
Oh, totally.
I think live events. Live events are based on monetized.
I don't know. I love events, live events, love events. Either way, I'm happy with either.
I'd rather have a love event.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the reason I wanted to bring this topic up, and we may need to move it to another week first, but I feel like I really want to say this before we close off the topic, is that I feel that too many people think that they need a logo and a website, and really that's just, as a friend of mine, Carl Taylor, said, it's just pushing paper. Just stop it. Stop it. That to get clients, you need to be able to articulate who you help and the outcome you help them achieve. And then you need to find the people with that problem and speak to them. The logo can come later. The website can come later. But if you don't have a proof of concept, then all you're doing is wasting a lot of money. So there you go. Said my piece. I got there.
You are so right. It doesn't have to be complicated. I had a friend that was selling things on Instagram before Instagram had the shopping post that you could do. And she would like post a picture. What she was doing is she was going to thrift stores and she had a really good eye and she was buying like vintage clothing. And so she would take a photo of it and she'd post on Instagram. And the first person to say they wanted it, she would, they would private message their email and she would send them a PayPal invoice and they would pay it. And that is how she conducted her business. And it was no website. There was no logo. There was nothing yet. She was getting paid. It was super simple.
Yeah. I've got a client that still does that in a Facebook group where she posts a picture and people just comment underneath and she just sends them a private message on Facebook with a PayPal link. So, yeah. And she's got a really, really profitable business. So, yeah, don't overcomplicate it.
Yeah. So Brent says, I hope I don't get kicked out, though. I like hanging out with you guys. Plus, you can always just ignore my comment.
No. We love you, Brent. We love it.
No,
you totally
definitely love Brent.
We'd love to think that we were in charge of today's conversation, but Brent totally owned it and we just played along like little puppets.
We are your puppets, Brent.
That was good.
And we all made it through, right? We talked about. I still don't think I have. I mean, because now you got me wondering about my indie pod community and the legitimacy of that. And she's you're nodding because you're like, I got you, Joe. I got you.
No, I just like it when people think. I just like that.
Well,
anything that makes people think is good.
Well, I've always taken a hard stance of like not giving out the email list, not and protecting the privacy of the people that are there, and not making the events purely about me selling to them, right? Like I've done I did something with Sam, right? We hosted a pre-course together, and nobody seems to have any problem with that, right? Now, with that said, I would say that. Let me pick my words carefully here. I would say that the community that I have built is maybe price conscious, right? So like I'm not going to be able to sell them $10,000 packages or something to that effect because that's just not it's not who I am and it's not who I attract, and that's okay. Maybe now that I got collared shirts, like I can, right? Maybe, but it's okay. I'm okay with that as long as people are understanding the genuineness that comes from it, and it's not just like a place of like, hey, I got you in the room, and I know you flew halfway around the world to be here, and now I'm gonna hard sell you on this like $20,000 package that I know you need because you have to have this if you want to be successful. Like that's not no.
I think what we need to be really careful of is putting our values or beliefs onto other people, because I love being in your community, Joe. I absolutely love it. And because I was in that community and because I could see how people were interacting, I couldn't wait to fly around the other side of the world. And Leon and I came to your conference. Now, if you hadn't have sold your conference in that Facebook group, we wouldn't have flown around the world to be there. But we were there because the community was there first. I could see that that's the kind of people that we want to hang around. So I think that we do need to be careful not to push our beliefs onto other people, because as adults, we can make up our own minds. I chose to be part of that community, and I wanted to spend money to be part of that community at the next level. So,
and I will say this, Joe, in terms of your community, in case you felt like I was like really coming at you hard.
No, you weren't beating me up or anything like that.
Because I will say that you're different than the communities in quotes that I was referring to, in the sense that you have the Indie Pod conference, right? And that's sort of that's where the community sort of pulled from, was that annual event. So It's something more tangible, more real than just like, hey, I'm starting a Facebook group today, and it's going to be about how to make $1 million, and my
I see a lot of those.
Yeah, my community is all people who want to make $1 million, and we love each other, and kumbaya, and nobody's bought my program, so I'm shutting this community down. I mean, yours has a lot more depth to it. I mean, it is a community, but I also think it's ripe for membership.
Okay. I think, and it is, right? That's why we have the Indie Pod University and a separate private group that we're putting together. So it's it's one of those things where it just takes time, and I feel like when you get that certain level of trust and people knowing you, and as Brent is saying, authenticity
absolutely
matters.
I totally agree with Brent.
Right? You have to get people to a point where they want you to win. They're like literally pushing you to the finish line.
And you do have a community. I mean, I'm in there, and you do have a community. People that interact with each other, support each other, ask questions, contribute. They behave like a community.
Yes. And I want it to be that way. I don't like, that's where the second level, that's where we have other Facebook groups for people that buy into master classes and masterminds and things. Like that's where those people get funneled into.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Like that's to me how it should be. Like I can't turn around and be like, okay, great. We hit 10,000 people in the Indie Pod community. Now it's $20 a month to get in. Like
it happened.
That don't feel kind of like that's kind of sleazy.
Yeah. I think that's a little bit different. And to be honest, I know that the three of us wouldn't do that. And I 100% agree that anyone that is part of this show that listens or watches isn't that either. And the reason is that we attract people that are like us. So I think we're having a conversation that almost doesn't apply to anyone that's listening or watching, to be honest.
So we just wasted your time.
We did not.
We were talking to people or aren't here. We'll be back next week though. So
well, we're training. No, wait, hey, we're training people to see through other people's.
Yeah.
So that's what we're training them for, right? Because that kind of stuff exists. Like I said, like just a handful of years ago, I ran into the same thing.
I see it all the time. And also how it ties back into today's topic, and maybe a little more cleanly, is, you may be jumping into these communities to learn more before you start your business. And, it's more of, it can be another delay tactic for you. Just get out there and
absolutely
start. And we would love to know if you have a business that you're thinking about starting. I'd just love to know. If you've been putting one off, if you've had a good experience starting a business, bad experience.
Do just then, when you were talking, Jen, and Joe put the music on, I was like, did I miss the practice round where that just went so well? I was like, oh, I think I missed the practice session. I was like, what's happening here?
We're getting really good. We're just getting really good.
Yeah, well, that happens when you've done. What was this, our 14th episode or something?
No, I think
I don't know.
we're up to 16 or 17. 16? I think
deep into the double digits.
I'm looking now. I'm looking now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
awesome.
we are. This is our 18th episode.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. It doesn't feel an episode over 17.
It's because this wasn't a real episode, Jen. It was just a figment of our imagination.
None of this is
I think
real.
the better question is how do we label this episode after the fact, right?
Correct, because I think we may need to change the title.
I think so.
Damn it.
Darn it,
and for all our team that edits this episode, we apologize.
We apologize. Yes. Good luck with your
good.
Facebook group out there, everybody.
So with 10 minutes left to go, do we want to move on to what Ben and Jerry's is doing to get
Absolutely.
applause?
Yeah, I want to know what Ben and Jerry's is doing.
Let's talk about ice cream.
Yeah, that's my kind of topic. So, but people applaud Ben and Jerry's for condemning white supremacy in strongest corporate statement yet. It is funny that to see like two hippies and the word corporate in the same structure of sentence paragraph. Yeah. So what did they do? Let's see. We must dismantle white supremacy. The murder of George Floyd was the result of inhumane police brutality that is perpetuated by a culture of white supremacy.
Yeah, so they did not tiptoe around the issue. They came out as a big, corporate entity, and they made a very strong statement. But they also had, I think it was like a 4-point or a 10-point action plan to back it up, which included, money being donated to the cause or causes. And they also, I didn't know this. I should know more about the ice cream that I ate too much of. But but Ben and Jerry's have been really into the activist movement. They're really strong activists. So they've supported same-sex marriage. They're really involved in environmental activism.
Climate change.
So this was not their first foray into strong, statements. So they just, we were talking about authenticity earlier. This came across as very authentic because it wasn't just a statement. It was a statement that was backed up by a plan of action. So
nice. I like it.
I had my Ben and Jerry's this week, and I felt a lot less guilty about eating it.
It was Melissa was trying to. She's like, you've been buying all this Ben and Jerry's lately, and I was like, yeah. I was like, because I happen to be at the store, and it happens to be like right there. And she's like, but it's so expensive, and I'm like, yes, but it's higher quality ice cream than most ice creams. It's thicker, right? So it's more made like it's more thicker,
consistency.
Creamier?
Yeah. Well, it's made with more cream, right? It's not as thinned out. And then to top it off, like if you really think about like, okay, so it's like I don't know what Ben Jerry's is, like $6 or something, $6.50 for a pint. Well, the point being is if you go out to a restaurant, how much are you paying for a dessert after you eat your dinner? Probably a minimum of like $6. So, and I'm eating it over 2 or 3 nights. I'm all right with that. I mean, it is pricier than like other ice creams, obviously, but it's better, and it's better for the environment and better for
well, I don't even look at the price.
Justice.
I just look at the fun names and figure out which one I'm going to get.
Oh, that's awesome. So,
Okay, my current favorite. Oh, sorry. I was just going to talk about. I'm still talking about ice cream.
No, so was I.
Go ahead, Sam.
No, go ahead, Jen.
I was just going to say my current favorite flavor is a flavor called Americone Dream. I highly recommend it. It's so good.
Yes.
Have you had it? No.
I haven't. No.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I just wanted to know because Brent's saying that there's a flavor called half baked. I want to know what that flavor is.
It's really good. That's Melissa's favorite. So it's like cookie dough and brownie, and it's half baked. Like doughy. Yeah. That's
Okay.
Melissa's favorite.
Mm,
So half baked is
good.
if I can get it to come up here. So it's chocolate and vanilla ice cream mixed with gobs of chocolate chip cookie dough and fudge brownies, and they're
Oh
Well,
half
there
my
you go.
God. I'm never going to be skinny.
Uh,
Never. It's not going to happen for me, folks. So
we have
good.
all the good food, mind you. I know we have Ben and Jerry's. I just don't eat it.
So okay,
good.
so speaking of what you do have, you have 3 words for us. For
Yeah,
our
and
America
the
versus
words that I've
Australia.
chosen are not anything to do with business, but we do understand that that we still are doing business with people on the other side of the world. So last time I gave you the 3 words, I put them into context, which made them so easy for you to
Yes.
guess. So this week, no context, guys. So the first word is ripper.
Is that a fart?
No, it's
for
it's
sure
like
I had it.
it's a party, isn't it? Like a good time.
No.
No?
Oh, well, you're getting close, Joe. And the second, I'm going to give you all 3 words and then put them in a sentence. So the second word is bottle-o, except in Australia we'd pronounce it bottle-o.
Bottle-o.
I don't
Bottle-o.
think I've heard you use that word.
Okay. I know this one.
Do you know this one?
I know
What
this
is
one.
it, Jen?
Is it that when you have a ship inside a bottle?
Not quite, no. And the third word is
I don't know.
the third word is Barbie.
That's barbecue.
A barbecue.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I thought these are
That's
3
because we have
great
the
words
Outback. We have
because we've
Outback
just
Steakhouse.
Oh no, we've got a Barbie on our balcony. Like everyone in Australia has a Barbie. So because it's just been a long weekend here in Australia and because you guys are heading into summer, it's like, so we're going to have a ripper weekend. We're just going to head on to the Bottle-o before we head to the Barbie. And it means we're going to have a great weekend. So it's a ripper is like, that's great. Bottle-o is the liquor store and Barbie is the barbecue. So there you go. There's Australian versus American for this
So I
week.
kind of got like 1.5 there.
Yeah.
I was way off. I can't believe it's not a ship in a bottle.
So seriously, did you? Oh dear. Yes. So many crazy words. I didn't realize.
I don't pick up language very easily.
No one in the world picks up our language very easily.
Oh
so good. Thanks for playing along, guys.
That was
Oh,
fun.
thank
That's
you.
my new
Thank you.
favorite segment. Love it.
But Joe,
harder
let's take
next
it to a different place. You got to grind my gears.
Yeah, grind the gears.
Yeah. So I call my pool is not pumping the water fast enough. Like it's not like filling up the like where the motor is. It's not filling up the basket fast enough, or the pump where the pump is not filling up the basket fast enough. And I don't want the pump to burn out. So I called up my local, people that deal with the pool. I buy pool stuff from and all that. And they actually just put our liner in last year. And I call them up and like, oh yeah, well they're like, oh well, we can come out. Maybe we can come out today actually if our guys get back early enough. I was like, oh okay, cool, no problem. This is on Saturday. If not, it'll be Monday. Okay, no problem. They get an updated credit card over the phone so that they can do, don't have to do like all the contact, I guess contactless payment, all that stuff. Do all that. So it's like 1:00 today, and I'm sitting around and I'm like, they still aren't here yet, and I haven't heard from them at all. So I call, I get a voicemail thing that's just like, oh, nobody's here to take your call. And their voicemail box is all filled up. And I'm like, no. And I was like, so then it says press like *08 or something like that. I'm like, okay, so I press that. Somebody answers right away. So I guess I just went into like a weird part of their system by like literally just holding on the phone from calling. So the person has no idea anything about what's going on. So she puts me on hold, and I'm waiting on hold for a while. Somebody picks up and is like, I guess they picked up the wrong line because I wasn't the last name that they were talking to. And they put me back on hold. Then the person comes back and says, what were we coming out to fix again? And I was like, oh, here we go. What are we doing here? They're like, what? You took my credit card. Like you took my credit card over the phone for crying out loud. Like how are we not How are you not knowing what's going on? So she's like, okay, hold on. Puts me back on hold. Comes back. Oh yeah, you're in the Tuesday folder. And it's like, well, I wish someone would have called and communicated that to me. Like I wouldn't have been. I wasn't running my pump because I was expecting you to show up and like tell me that a line is busted or something and I need it replaced. So I don't want my pump burning out. So here we are. Hopefully tomorrow they will show up. But
You're having all sorts of tradie problems lately.
I was going to say, they must be friends with your drywall people.
Yeah, hashtag
right?
tradie problems.
Yeah, right. They still never got back to me. Those drywall people.
You know what they
but now I
need?
got drywall.
You know what they need?
them.
They need a Facebook community. I mean, maybe they do. If you were in the Facebook pool community, maybe you would have gotten your service.
I agree, Mary. So it is first world problems, and if I didn't have 2 kids, I couldn't care less. But they want to go. It's getting warm outside, and they want to go in the pool. They need something to do. They got to stay stimulated. They are.
You don't have puddles in your neighborhood?
We have a little pool, but you have to keep
it.
filling it up.
Oh, that one wins
thanks.
the hashtag for the
salty.
yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Brent. So anyway, so hopefully by tomorrow, this thing will all be blown over. It's all
okay.
Well,
I hope that's sorted out.
Pool time.
I'm supposed to be grinding my gear. Look, hey, I don't judge you, Jen, when you're grinding your gear.
Sorry, I'm very judgy. I'm an IN. What is the IF? And I don't forget. I was going to say I have J in my
Judgy McJudgy.
In my what's that called when you have the letters I
and Myers-Briggs.
The Myers-Briggs. I have the J in there.
Oh, I don't know. Anyway. I don't know what that is. Anyway.
Never mind.
So real quick, I guess we'll want to end on our plain view project.
Yeah, I came across this plain view project. Well, the Philadelphia Police Department is going through some stuff, and it's not all great. And so, anyway, this project I've just been so impressed with all the different activist groups that I've come across lately. So, this is a group of lawyers that took it upon themselves to basically analyze all the public social media posts by the Philadelphia Police Department. And they catalog everything that they find that is racist. And their efforts have now, it seems that they've expanded beyond Philadelphia. Anyway, I just thought this was a pretty ambitious effort. And unfortunately, they found a lot. So, and it has, their findings are now leading to investigations, and some people have been suspended because of their racist posts. And these are not like gray area, like the stuff is really bad. You should know better. But anyway, so this is what they do. They just catalog, and their whole thing is they don't want to. They're not trying to infringe on free speech, but they are trying to basically hold the police accountable for their actions because it erodes public trust when they're out there on social media saying things that are racist. And it's all part of the systemic problem of racism that we're dealing with in this country. They're just trying to, chisel away at one corner of the problem, one piece of the problem, but they're doing a pretty good job of what they're doing. And it's all just volunteer efforts. So I thought it was worth mentioning them. I was pretty impressed.
Awesome.
Anybody that is, doing what they can to bring racism out in the public eye so that we can identify and act and put people in office that should be there and people in jobs that should be there that are, in charge of upholding the law. I think this is all good stuff. Anyway, the website, I will say the website's kind of scary. When I got on there, I was like, I'm not sure about this. It's all very dark. And I think they could, if there's a web designer out there wants some charity work, you might want to help out the Plainview Project because their website's very scary for me and very hard to read.
Good find though, Jen.
Not a fan of white text on black background.
It's not a good choice. it's very hard for everybody to read.
But this is awesome, and it's nice that they have a donation button there
Yes.
to donate.
Yes.
I'm going to put them in the running to raise money for them this weekend on Saturday.
Oh,
There you
If
go.
it's one of the ones we, if
Put
it's
'em
the
in the
one that
running.
we pick. Yeah, right. So, all right. Well, I mean, we have overstayed our welcome. Thank you so
gosh,
much,
we have.
Mary Sue, Brent Basham, Lou, Regner. Who else is in here?
Mary Sue.
Yeah, I did say. I'm
You
pretty
did
sure
say Mary Sue.
said Mary
Okay,
Sue.
sorry.
Yeah. But yeah, so thank you everybody for watching and enjoying. It's been great. It's been fun. It's been a fun hour.
It's
for
been a
me.
fun episode.
Absolutely. I don't think we tackled our time. We should make it a plan to do this once in a while. Completely deviate from the plan. Yeah. If you've enjoyed this episode of the Business Geeks podcast, please feel free to share it with the business geek in your life. Send us your questions and suggestions to questions@businessgeekspodcast.com. You can catch us next Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time and Tuesday, 10 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Everybody, have a great week. Stay safe, and I hope that the protesting continues to still happen and continue to stay positive and non-violent. Peaceful. That's the word I was looking for. Peaceful. And now the music.